How do you approach a gang of pirates terrorising shipping on the high seas? With extreme caution and a posse of armed guards, for a start.
Unlike the storybook characters with eye patches, modern pirates use high-tech weapons and speedy boats, posing a severe threat to shipping routes like the Red Sea and Indian Ocean.
They've always existed. As long as there's been international trade on the ocean, there have been pirates.
But if there is one mistake a pirate would never want to make, it is attacking a U.S. Navy ship. These massive ships don't take lightly their defenses and are ready to destroy them in 1 second. Even though there are serious economic and social problems in Somalia that make piracy an easy route to escape poverty, the Navy doesn't care. It will defend its turf at all costs. Come with us to discover why Somali pirates risk all the dangers against unbreakable U.S. Navy defenses, the grim reality of high seas crime. Modern piracy has made a strong comeback, proving to be a significant threat to international shipping rather than the adventurous escapades often depicted in tales of old. The waters of the Red Sea, the Suez Canal, and the vast Indian Ocean are no longer just busy trade routes, but are now scenes of serious security concerns. The hotspots for these modern-day pirates, such as the Gulf of Guinea and the coastal waters off Somalia, tell a deeper story of socio-economic issues. The rise in piracy in these regions can be linked to poor living conditions, high unemployment rates, and ineffective government systems. Many involved in piracy are not inherently evil. They are frequently ordinary people driven to desperate acts by extreme poverty. For some, the choice between a life of crime and extreme poverty is hardly a choice at all, especially in areas where legal job opportunities are nearly non-existent. This resurgence of piracy serves as a stark reflection of broader systemic failures. These issues reveal a lot about global priorities and how the international community addresses, or fails to address, the root causes of piracy. While military might and maritime patrols can disrupt pirate activities, these actions do not solve the underlying economic and governance issues that fuel piracy. The continuous cycle of piracy is both a symptom and a product of these larger issues. It's easier to deploy military forces than it is to fix unstable economies or to ensure that wealth from natural resources benefits the local populations. As long as there are significant inequalities in wealth and opportunities, there will always be those who view piracy not just as a choice, but as a necessary survival strategy. One might ponder if piracy will ever be fully wiped out, or if the current strategies are merely band-aids on a deeper, more persistent wound. The global spectacle of fighting piracy captures the world's attention, yet it also raises critical questions about whether we are addressing the real issues or merely containing their symptoms. It's a stark reminder that the battle against piracy isn't just about securing the seas, but is also about addressing the economic disparities that give rise to such drastic measures. Somali pirates are known for their daring attacks on ships sailing through the Gulf of Aden and the Indian Ocean. These pirates aren't the charming adventurers of storybooks, but rather desperate criminals operating with a chilling efficiency. They use small, fast boats called skiffs to quickly approach larger, slower-moving cargo ships. These skiffs usually come from bigger ships called motherships that stay out in deeper waters, acting as floating bases where the pirates prepare their attacks. The pirates are heavily armed with weapons like AK-47s, rocket-propelled grenades, RPGs, and handguns. The RPGs are especially dangerous because they allow the pirates to hit the control rooms of big ships from a distance, forcing them to stop. This makes it easy for the pirates to climb aboard. Once they take over a ship, they become brutal, taking crew members hostage and often treating them very harshly, using beatings, torture, and sometimes even killing them. When pirates capture a ship, they typically demand a large sum of money to release the crew and the ship. They might also steal anything valuable they find on board. The whole ordeal is terrifying for the crew, and those who make it out often suffer from severe mental health problems like PTSD, a condition that can follow someone long after the actual danger is over. As pirate attacks have become more common, shipping companies have been forced to turn their ships into floating fortresses. They've added things like razor wire, water cannons, and even hired armed guards to fight off pirates. It's almost like an arms race on the water, with each side constantly trying to outdo the other with better weapons and defenses. The issue isn't just off the coast of Somalia. Similar pirate activities are happening near Indonesia, Malaysia, the Philippines, and Bangladesh, suggesting a widespread issue driven by deep poverty and lack of law enforcement in these regions. The tempting profits from hijacking ships draw more and more people into piracy. This ongoing battle at sea shows both the desperation of the pirates and the extreme measures ships are taking to protect themselves. Every new defensive upgrade by the ships leads to more aggressive and clever tactics from the pirates. Internationally, efforts to stop the pirates include sending Navy ships to patrol and trying to rescue captured ships. However, these pirates are tough to beat. As soon as one is caught, another is ready to take his place, motivated by the stark economic realities in their home countries. The constant threat of piracy means that modern ships must travel not just with valuable goods, but with teams of armed guards, all watching the sea for the small, fast boats that have become a symbol of terror on the open waters. As this cycle of aggression and defense continues, the stakes keep getting higher, with both sides pushing each other further into an ever-escalating conflict at sea. Let's see how ships fight back against pirates with some tough defenses. The never-ending struggle on the seas. Using armed security guards on ships has become a popular way to fight off pirates. These guards, often former soldiers, are hired to be the first and most aggressive line of defense. Their job is to protect the ship and use guns if they need to. This approach shows just how serious and scary the threat of pirates has become for people who ship goods across the ocean. Ships are also equipped with tough defenses like razor wire, which is sharp and dangerous. This wire is wrapped around the ship to stop pirates from climbing aboard easily. It's an effective deterrent, making it risky and difficult for pirates to even get close. Additionally, ships use high-pressure water cannons that can knock pirates back into the sea if they try to attack. These cannons are like powerful hoses that can push attackers away with a lot of force, adding a dramatic element to defending the ship. Ships are designed with special safe rooms too, which are secure areas where the crew can hide during a pirate attack. These rooms are like safe havens, meant to protect the crew until the danger passes. The crew also practices special driving tricks like zigzagging or speeding up suddenly to escape pirates, which sounds more like something from a car chase than traditional sailing. To stay safe, ships keep a constant watch. Crew members look out for dangers, ready to call for help if they see anything suspicious. They follow specific paths through the ocean that are supposed to be safer, but pirates are smart and unpredictable, which makes these measures only sometimes effective. Despite these defenses, there are big challenges. Pirates use small, fast boats that are hard to see and can move quickly around the larger, slower ships. This makes it tough for the ships to defend themselves effectively. The small boats let pirates attack quickly and unexpectedly, showing that they can outmaneuver larger ships. Another problem is that these attacks often happen in places where there's not a lot of law enforcement, which lets pirates operate without much fear of getting caught. Using weapons against pirates might be legally okay because it's self-defense, but it also brings up serious questions. When ships fight back, it can lead to violent battles at sea, making people question whether it's right to have such intense fights over cargo. The ongoing battle against piracy is like a complex game, where every new security measure by the ships leads to new tactics by the pirates. It's a constant struggle with high risks, where the rules seem to change as the situation evolves. The line between defending a ship and attacking others gets blurry, especially in the vast, ruleless ocean. This fight against piracy shows how dangerous and desperate the situation has become for those who travel and work on the sea. Nations from around the world have poured extensive resources into the oceans, increasing naval patrols in notorious pirate hotspots, and using high-tech surveillance that raises privacy concerns. all in the name of protecting trade routes. These efforts are framed by a slew of regional and international agreements aimed at catching and punishing pirates. These legal frameworks often ignore the root causes of piracy, such as poverty and instability in the regions where pirates operate. Instead, the focus is largely on keeping shipping lanes open for business, suggesting that protecting cargo is prioritized over addressing the deeper issues that lead individuals to turn to piracy in the first place. This heavy emphasis on maritime security sees naval forces from numerous countries boosting their presence in dangerous waters. The Combined Task Force 151, established in 2009 under the United Nations Security Council's watch, includes naval forces from powerhouses like the United States and the United Kingdom to others like Saudi Arabia and Pakistan. The Combined Task Force 151 is a formidable force against Somali pirates, representing a global united front. Yet this show of unity and strength is not without its critics. There are concerns about the aggressive tactics used by these naval patrols, which could infringe on human rights. The potential legal complications for the involved security personnel are often swept under the rug, overshadowed by the broader narrative of international cooperation and valor at sea. Other coalitions, such as the European Union Naval Force in the Gulf of Aden, highlight the regional approaches to fighting piracy. Each group, although aiming for the same goal of ending piracy, subtly reflects the political and military agendas of its member countries. Despite these significant international efforts, they are mostly reactive, focusing on dealing with pirates after they have become a problem rather than preventing piracy in the first place. This approach is akin to swatting at flies without removing the cause of the attraction. As navies patrol these troubled seas under the banners of justice and safety, the deeper, more persistent issues that feed the cycle of piracy are left unaddressed. This raises the question: are these efforts merely treating the symptoms of a larger problem while inadvertently cementing its root causes? In doubling down on maritime defense, the world might be missing an opportunity to address the underlying social and economic factors that lead to piracy. For every pirate ship intercepted, countless others may be driven to crime by desperation. While the world focuses on fortifying ships and crew against pirate attacks, the plight of those driven to such extremes by harsh circumstances often remains out of the spotlight. The result is a cycle of crime and punishment on the seas that fails to address the bigger picture of why piracy occurs and how it can be sustainably stopped. The Regional Cooperation Agreement on Combating Piracy and Armed Robbery Against Ships in Asia, or RECAP, aims to protect Southeast Asia's busy sea lanes from modern pirates. Despite its intentions, RECAP often seems more like a temporary solution, offering only a surface-level sense of security rather than addressing the deeper maritime safety issues. Next, we explore how the world's navies join forces to tackle piracy, a theatrical display of naval force. Under the guise of keeping peace, naval coalitions patrol notorious pirate hotspots, such as the Gulf of Aden and the Strait of Malacca. Their approach includes a strong display of military power, using ships, planes, and drones in a sophisticated attempt to intimidate and track down pirates. These patrols are meant to identify and respond to any suspicious activities on the water. However, it raises questions about how effective these patrols really are when pirates simply wait them out or move to different areas. In addition to these patrols, naval forces provide what they call escorts to valuable cargo ships, including oil tankers and large container vessels. These escorts can be a single warship accompanying a commercial ship, or a group of ships traveling together for what they call mutual protection. It's a well-organized effort, yet the effectiveness of these measures often seems more theatrical than practical, as the threat of piracy continues to evolve and adapt. The success of these operations is often proudly announced, with significant decreases in piracy attacks cited as proof of their effectiveness. For example, reported piracy attacks dropped dramatically from 237 in 2011 to just 9 in 2019. However, this statistic masks the ongoing and adaptive nature of piracy. As the number of pirate attacks has decreased near Somalia, they have surged in the Gulf of Guinea, off the coast of West Africa, showing that the problem hasn't been solved, just shifted. This continuous cycle of action and reaction between naval forces and pirates resembles an arms race on the water. Pirates also improve their tactics and methods as the military uses more advanced technology. This escalation seems endless, with each new security measure met by a new strategy from pirates. The ongoing struggle highlights not only the determination and resourcefulness of those labeled as criminals, but also casts doubt on the true effectiveness of international efforts to get to the root of maritime piracy. The ocean remains a battleground where shows of strength are met with strategic changes in tactics, and every step taken to secure the seas is countered by the grim reminder that the fight against piracy is far from over. It just moves to new areas. The Combined Task Force 151, established in 2009 under the United Nations Security Council's watch, includes naval forces from powerhouses like the United States and the United Kingdom to others like Saudi Arabia and Pakistan. The Combined Task Force 151 is a formidable force against Somali pirates, representing a global united front. Yet this show of unity and strength is not without its critics. There are concerns about the aggressive tactics used by these naval patrols, which could infringe on human rights. The potential legal complications for the involved security personnel are often swept under the rug, overshadowed by the broader narrative of international cooperation and valor at sea. Other coalitions, such as the European Union Naval Force in the Gulf of Aden, highlight the regional approaches to fighting piracy. Each group, although aiming for the same goal of ending piracy, subtly reflects the political and military agendas of its member countries. Despite these significant international efforts, they are mostly reactive, focusing on dealing with pirates after they have become a problem rather than preventing piracy in the first place. This approach is akin to swatting at flies without removing the cause of the attraction. As navies patrol these troubled seas under the banners of justice and safety, the deeper, more persistent issues that feed the cycle of piracy are left unaddressed. This raises the question: are these efforts merely treating the symptoms of a larger problem, while inadvertently cementing its root causes? In doubling down on maritime defense, the world might be missing an opportunity to address the underlying social and economic factors that lead to piracy. For every pirate ship intercepted, countless others may be driven to crime by desperation. While the world focuses on fortifying ships and crew against pirate attacks, the plight of those driven to such extremes by harsh circumstances often remains out of the spotlight. The result is a cycle of crime and punishment on the seas that fails to address the bigger picture of why piracy occurs and how it can be sustainably stopped. The Regional Cooperation Agreement on Combating Piracy and Armed Robbery Against Ships in Asia, or RECAP, aims to protect Southeast Asia's busy sea lanes from modern pirates. Despite its intentions, RECAP often seems more like a temporary solution, offering only a surface-level sense of security rather than addressing the deeper maritime safety issues. Next, we explore how the world's navies join forces to tackle piracy. A theatrical display of naval force. Under the guise of keeping peace, naval coalitions patrol notorious pirate hotspots, such as the Gulf of Aden and the Strait of Malacca. Their approach includes a strong display of military power, using ships, planes, and drones in a sophisticated attempt to intimidate and track down pirates. These patrols are meant to identify and respond to any suspicious activities on the water. However, it raises questions about how effective these patrols really are when pirates simply wait them out or move to different areas. In addition to these patrols, naval forces provide what they call escorts to valuable cargo ships, including oil tankers and large container vessels. The success of these operations is often proudly announced, with significant decreases in piracy attacks cited as proof of their effectiveness. For example, reported piracy attacks dropped dramatically from 237 in 2011 to just 9 in 2019. However, this statistic masks the ongoing and adaptive nature of piracy. As the number of pirate attacks has decreased near Somalia, they have surged in the Gulf of Guinea, off the coast of West Africa, showing that the problem hasn't been solved, just shifted. This continuous cycle of action and reaction between naval forces and pirates resembles an arms race on the water. Pirates also improve their tactics and methods as the military uses more advanced technology. This escalation seems endless, with each new security measure met by a new strategy from pirates. The ongoing struggle highlights not only the determination and resourcefulness of those labeled as criminals, but also casts doubt on the true effectiveness of international efforts to get to the root of maritime piracy. The ocean remains a battleground where shows of strength are met with strategic changes in tactics, and every step taken to secure the seas is countered by the grim reminder that the fight against piracy is far from over. It just moves to new areas. These developments suggest that while there is much talk and some action, the efforts to control piracy might need a deeper look and more sustainable strategies. The shifting hotspots of pirate activity indicate that more than just patrols and escorts are needed. There needs to be a fundamental change in how these issues are approached, perhaps focusing more on addressing the socioeconomic factors that lead to piracy in the first place, rather than just trying to police the symptoms on the surface. This might include international cooperation not just in patrolling waters, but in helping to improve the conditions that lead people to turn to piracy as a way of life. In a world where pirates seem like something out of old adventure stories, modern naval forces still spend a lot of money and effort to fight them off. They use a variety of high-tech weapons that might seem a bit too much for the threat involved. These include machine guns that are operated remotely, helicopters that can carry a whole arsenal of weapons, and very advanced systems designed to protect ships at close range. One such weapon is the Mk-38 machine gun system. This isn't just any gun on a ship. It's controlled from a distance and armed with a 25mm cannon capable of hitting small, fast-moving boats with the kind of accuracy that makes it seem less like real warfare and more like a video game. The Mk-38 also has special sensors that help it find and hit targets from as far as 2,500 meters away. Considering that the boats pirates use are often small and simple, the power of the Mk-38 might seem like overkill. Helicopters have also become a crucial part of the naval arsenal against pirates. They can be equipped with various weapons, from M60 machine guns and 20mm cannons to missiles. The M60, in particular, is popular because it shoots very fast and can go through light armor, making it an effective tool against pirate boats that really aren't that tough. Even more striking is the use of AGM-114 Hellfire missiles in this fight. These missiles were originally made to destroy tanks, but are now being used to target larger pirate ships from a distance where they can't fight back. This use of such powerful weapons against pirates, who often have much weaker arms, brings up questions about whether the force being used is too much. With these advanced weapons, naval forces can fight pirates from far away, without ever seeing them up close. This can make the whole situation seem distant and less real, like playing a video game. The difference in power between the pirates and the Navy is so big that it makes you wonder if all this high-tech weaponry is really necessary. This modern approach to fighting piracy, with remote controls, overwhelming firepower, and a big distance between the fighters, shows a kind of warfare that is very one-sided. It seems that the response to the threat of piracy is much stronger than necessary, which might make people feel uncomfortable about how we use our military power. This sort of situation raises important questions about how we see and deal with threats, and whether our responses are appropriate for the challenges we face. The high seas are full of dangers, and to combat these, a new high-tech weapon, the Chinese Type 730 CIWs, has been added to the anti-piracy toolkit. This system combines advanced radar, sensors that detect both light and heat, and a powerful 7-barrel 30 Gatling gun designed to give ships strong protection against small boats and threats from the air. Although it sounds impressive, there's more to it than just technology. It's a sign of how intense the competition for better arms has become at sea. The Type 730 system operates almost on its own. It uses its sophisticated sensors to spot and keep track of any dangers approaching. Once it identifies something as a threat, it reacts quickly, firing a storm of explosive bullets at a rapid pace of up to 5,800 rounds per minute. This gun can hit targets up to 3,280 yards away, demonstrating its power and extensive range. Now let's look at the advanced weapon ships used to keep pirates at bay. The ripple effects of armed merchant vessels. However, this leads us to consider the broader implications of such advanced automated weapons. By depending so heavily on machines for safety, are we getting too confident in our technology? While the Type 730's capabilities are indeed effective, they also reflect a larger trend of increasing military presence in areas where perhaps more peaceful approaches should be considered. The emphasis on having more and more powerful weapons can make us wonder where the line between defense and aggression lies. Additionally, equipping civilian ships with such high-level military technology almost turns them into battle-ready warships, making it hard to distinguish between commercial and military vessels. Having such strong weapons on board can change the nature of interactions at sea, possibly making situations more dangerous than they need to be, as other parties might respond with equal force. In 2010, the power of advanced military technology was starkly revealed when a Chinese naval group used the Type 730 CIWs to fend off pirates attacking a merchant ship in the Gulf of Aden. This system acted quickly, firing rapidly and precisely to smash the pirates' small boat, forcing the pirates to give up and flee. This event is often talked about in military discussions, highlighting how effective modern naval weapons can be in actual combat situations. Yet celebrating these high-tech weapons tends to hide a more complex and less comfortable truth. These sophisticated tools, while powerful, are really just temporary fixes to the ongoing problem of piracy. They can stop or destroy immediate threats, but they don't tackle the deeper, more stubborn issues that cause piracy in the first place. Relying on such technology might make governments and naval forces feel powerful and secure, equipped to handle any danger. However, this sense of security might be misleading. By putting most of their energy into military solutions, there's a risk that the deeper, necessary work of solving social and economic difficulties in regions plagued by piracy gets ignored. These issues include things like poverty, lack of jobs, and unstable political situations, none of which can be solved by guns or missiles. Furthermore, the way these high-tech weapons are often shown off tends to make their use seem more glamorous and straightforward than it really is. It paints a picture of thrilling naval battles where the good guys always win. This kind of storytelling can hide the real, complicated, and morally ambiguous nature of sea conflicts and the human suffering they cause. This cycle of using force to temporarily manage problems without addressing the root causes can create a dangerous loop. Each military success might feel like progress, but without dealing with why piracy happens, these successes are just temporary. It's like constantly patching up a leaking boat without ever fixing the actual hole. This approach doesn't just fail to stop piracy permanently, it can also lead to an endless cycle of conflict and escalation. As we continue to rely on military might to keep our ships safe, we must ask ourselves if we are truly creating a safer world, or just defending ourselves against the symptoms of deeper troubles. The true challenge lies not in how well we can fight, but in how well we can understand and solve the problems that drive people to desperate acts like piracy. Until we focus on these fundamental issues with as much enthusiasm and resources as we do on military engagements, we are likely to see the same problems arise again and again. Over the years, Various heroic tales about anti-piracy missions have made headlines, often portrayed as grand and brave confrontations on the high seas. These stories involve naval forces from different countries, painted as crucial battles against the menace of piracy. But there's room to question whether these stories are as straightforward as they appear, or if they're more about showcasing power. For example, the widely praised operation between 2011 and 2012, involving the British Royal Marines capturing Somali pirates in the Indian Ocean, is a case in point. Operating from the HMS Montrose, the Marines used advanced technology and strategic maneuvers to catch the pirates. This story is often told in a way that highlights the Marines as heroes protecting the seas, with the pirates cast as clear-cut villains. However, such narratives tend to oversimplify the real reasons behind piracy, such as the severe poverty and lack of stable government in regions like Somalia. These issues typically push individuals into piracy, not because they are naturally bad people, but out of desperation and survival. The international naval missions are rarely scrutinized, whether they genuinely aim to help stabilize the region or more to control strategic maritime routes for their own benefits. Moreover, the disparity in power between the well-equipped Western navies and the poorly equipped pirates raises questions. The advanced military capabilities versus the basic tools of the pirates suggest a mismatch, leading to doubts about whether these missions are as much about maintaining security as they are about demonstrating dominance. Finally, we consider the real stories behind these anti-piracy missions and their effects. The truth behind anti-piracy heroics. The outcomes of these missions are also seldom discussed in depth. What happens to the pirates after they are caught? The legal and ethical issues surrounding their detention and trial, often far from their homes, are topics that don't get enough attention. The international reaction usually focuses on the tactic's success without considering the pirates' human rights. In addition, there's a lack of conversation about the broader impact of such operations. How do these actions affect the local communities? Are they beneficial in the long term, or do they just push the problems out of sight? These aspects of the story are typically lost in the excitement of the dramatic capture. The success of the Royal Marines in 2010 is frequently talked about in glowing terms, but some might view it as merely doing what was expected of them, not something extraordinary. Their mission was celebrated for being precise and effective, but really, isn't that just part of their job? The big praise they get can make one wonder if it's all just a show to make sure they keep getting support and money from the public. Similarly, the mission by the Chinese Special Forces in the Gulf of Aden that same year is another example of the military being seen as heroes. When Somali pirates took the fishing vessel Tanu No. 8, the nearby Chinese Navy jumped into action. They planned a sudden attack and fought the pirates in what was described as a fierce battle to rescue the 29 crew members. This event was heavily promoted and celebrated, boosting national pride and displaying China's military strength to the world. These stories often leave out the deeper and more complex parts of such events. They paint a simple picture where the good guys, our military, always win against the bad guys, the pirates. This kind of storytelling makes one think about how these tales are used to shape the image of countries like superheroes on the world stage. These missions are definitely important for keeping the seas safe and making sure shipping lanes are secure, but they also seem to serve another purpose. They help justify why we have such a strong military presence in these areas, and might even make the threat seem bigger and more dramatic than it really is. Considering the broader implications, these operations highlight not only the capabilities and readiness of military forces to defend national interests, but also their role in international politics. By framing these military actions as clear-cut victories of good over evil, it simplifies the complex nature of international conflicts and piracy. It also avoids discussing the underlying reasons for piracy and the socio-economic factors at play, which are often ignored in favor of more thrilling narratives. Moreover, the repetition of such stories could be seen as an attempt to condition the public's perception. ensuring continued support for military endeavors and the perception of an indispensable force safeguarding global commerce. The drama and spectacle added to these events might distract from more substantive issues like diplomatic strategies and long-term solutions to piracy. The Chinese Navy frequently engages in operations that highlight these priorities to showcase its naval strength and emphasize its commitment to protecting its citizens and interests worldwide. This approach was echoed in a notable incident in 2009 involving the Canadian Navy in the Gulf of Aden. During this event, the Canadian frigate HMCS Winnipeg was part of a NATO-led anti-piracy task force, an alliance that some critics argue represents an extension of Western military influence under the pretense of maintaining global maritime safety. While on patrol, the Winnipeg received a distress signal from a Norwegian tanker that was under attack by pirates. The response from the Winnipeg was swift and decisive, involving the launch of its helicopter and the use of its deck guns, actions reminiscent of scenes from action movies. This response not only helped to protect the tanker, but also showcased the frigate's capabilities and readiness to respond to threats. The pirates, likely poorly equipped and unprepared to face a well-armed naval force, were quickly subdued. They were captured and handed over to local authorities, a move that highlighted the Canadian Force's role in upholding maritime law and order. This event painted the Canadian Navy as both a protector and a powerful force against lawlessness at sea. However, such narratives often overlook the complex dynamics of geopolitics that play out in these waters, where motives for military presence can extend beyond simple protection. These operations can be seen as attempts to project power and control important shipping routes. Each successful mission is not just about stopping pirates. It's also about sending a message of military strength and international influence. Critics might question whether these missions are purely about security, or if they also serve to enhance a country's global standing and strategic interests. While the immediate effects, such as preventing pirate attacks, are clear and commendable, the broader motives and consequences of such naval deployments often remain less transparent. The incident with the HMCS Winnipeg is frequently cited as a demonstration of naval efficiency and crisis response, but it also subtly underscores a broader, more complex view of international military engagements labeled as defense and security operations. Are these naval missions purely for security, or do they serve broader geopolitical aims? Comment your views, and don't forget to subscribe for more discussions.